All right, here in lesson 2, I'm going to show you about our charging station here in the actual TV studio room. Now understand that over time, we're going to get more equipment. Our equipment's going to change. Maybe the equipment is not even the same stuff that's here right now. But generally, there's going to be a charging, and maybe the location of the charging station in the TV studio room changes as we change and adapt our room, but there'll be a charging station located somewhere. I'm going to show you what is on our current charging station, how it works, and why it is the way that it is. So I'm going to take the camera off the stand, and I'm going to show you exactly what we have going on here. All right, real quick here, guys, just to go through what's all here. I have a power strip, and it is protected from lightning. So it has got surge protection in it. So the things that are plugged into this are relatively safe. Starting on the left side of the power strip, what you're going to see here is our camera battery. So the two outside ones here, these two, are batteries for our Canon XA11 cameras. In just a moment, I'll show you how to put these batteries in the camera. Currently, we have 5 of these batteries. We have 2 cameras and 5 batteries. So if there's extras that aren't being charged, or that are already charged but aren't currently on the chargers, I just put them right next to it. We have one that's extra large. That one is actually in the camera I'm currently holding. And this is a great example. You can see the ones that are green. These are actually fully charged, so I can take this off here. So if you ever come in here and you see one that's fully charged, you can take it off and set it here. And then maybe you need to check another battery to see if it's charged. Okay, that one is charged as well. And then last but not least, check this one. And it looks like that's charged. So I do have one charging here. So it's important to make sure that our batteries are always charged, because if we're going to a football game or we're going to something that's longer and we don't have batteries that are charged, then that's a problem. So the outside ones here are for the Canon XA11. As you saw the battery, the Canon XA11 is our main camera that we're using in TV Studio right now. We actually have 2 of these. You'll have a video that shows you more in depth on how to use these. But since I showed you where the battery's at, I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to show you how to insert the battery as well. On the back of the camera is where the battery slot is. So if I take that battery off the charger, where it was located when I showed you a second ago, all I have to do is take the battery where the prongs are facing up. You can kind of see on here that the prongs are right here. So I need to line those up. You start at the bottom, and then you just push up. You're going to hear a click. And now that that's in there, I can actually turn the camera on. I'll have power and can use the camera. To get the batteries out of the camera, if you look at the bottom, there is a little latch. I just push the latch down, and then the battery slides right out. The latch is right here. You can kind of see it better when the battery's not in there. But you push that down and the battery slides out. When you're putting it in, it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry, but you'll hear it click when the latch clicks it. Whenever you're done using a camera, you should always put the battery back on the charger. If you come in here and you notice that one of the chargers is no longer red, that means the battery is charged and you can swap it for another battery. The middle one here, it's got a distinctly different looking battery. This is for our box camera that we have that Coach Howard gave us. I'll be showing you guys how to insert that in just a moment. So this one, you can just take it off. Obviously, it's got a green light right now, so that means it's fully charged. So I could actually take that battery off and set it down here. It's really not the end of the world if the battery stays in there while the green light is on. So I'll just leave it there for right now. This is our box camera. So at our charging station, we have a battery charger for our box camera. This is really nice to use because it can be used with our big gimbal. It gets a lot of really more personal shots. It's very high quality. So we have our charging station, as I just showed you, our battery for that. And just while I'm here, I'm going to show everybody how to put these batteries in. If you look inside the camera here, there is a chamber here on the bottom of the camera. The big slot is where the battery goes. The battery has, if you look in the chamber, you can see where the prongs go in on the battery. The prongs are right there. So I'm going to insert my battery to where those things line up, and then they just go straight in like that. And now this thing has a battery. Next, our next thing plugged in here is it goes to this device right here, which this device is basically just a USB charging dock. So let me unplug our blue cams from it real quick. Obviously I just dropped one, but that's okay. So this is just a USB charging dock. A lot of different things can be plugged into that. These cameras right here, which we'll have a video on how to use these cameras are nice because the batteries are built in and you can actually charge them off the USB cable that is on the camera itself. And then the USB cable, when it's done charging, it just goes back into the slot that's on the strap. So I usually have these charging in case there is an event after school. You can come in, you can grab the camera, and you can take it and go. I'll mention this in the camera videos as well. Guys, if I'm not here for a day, or if you know something's going on, and you like, I need to use a camera for this, or this would be good to get for TV studio, this would be a good video to make, then just go ahead and take the camera and send me an email and let me know you took it. But don't take it without sending me an email. As long as you send me an email, I'm completely fine with it. Let's go down the line here. What else is plugged in? The next two USBs that are plugged in here go to these GoPros. Now, we haven't used the GoPros a lot in TV Studio so far. The coolest thing I think we've used them for is the drum line. The drum line can march through the halls. I'll have a video on how to use the GoPros a little bit later, and maybe we'll start getting more use. But as of right now, that's basically where we are with it. All right, and then another very important thing here is these last two that are plugged in. These are always plugged in, they never move. And the reason why is because they actually go to our lights. So our lights, these are their batteries, and the lights actually have the same battery as our big Sony camera. In just a moment, I'll show you how to take a battery to using the Sony camera, but that leads me to the next thing that's plugged into the power strip. The Sony camera's battery is also plugged in the power strip. It has its own plug-in. Now what you'll notice though is this battery is exactly the same as these for our light trees. And these light tree batteries are also exactly the same as the batteries that we use for our wireless receivers for live broadcasting. So the wireless receivers get strapped to the tripod, and then it goes to the camera, and there's another one that sits wherever the computer's at for the live broadcast, and it has one as well. That's what powers them. So they power the lights, they power the Sony camera, and they power the wireless rigs that we use for live broadcasting. I'll go ahead and show you how to use the light rigs. All right, so to show you how to use these batteries on our lights, we have two of these newer lights. These are lights that we use for really a lot of different things, but I'll have a little bit more in-depth video on how to use these lights, but just because we're talking about the batteries, the way the batteries get plugged in, you'll see that there's two little dots here on the bottom. These two little dots, they just slide straight down on here, and once they're on here, all I have to do to turn this light on is flip this switch down here to the battery side, and it's going to use the battery to power the light. Now, there is also a corded charger that could plug into the wall, so if you needed it for a really long time and you did not have the battery power to do it, you could plug into the DC. It's actually right here. It plugs into here, direct current, 12 volt battery, not battery, but charger, goes straight into the wall, and you can use it that way. So it's nice to be able to have the wireless capability. When we're doing the weekly newscast, there's no reason to get extra cables out. Just pop one of these things on. They should be charged, and you're good to go. And generally, if like I'm filming a student talent spotlight or something like that, I'm going to use the batteries just because they're more convenient and because we do have them. So this is how you use these batteries for the lights. I'll go ahead and show you how to use the Sony camera battery. Alright, this camera is our Sony NextCam. Unfortunately, we don't use it quite as much anymore, and the reason why is because the LED screen to see what you're filming got broken when a student dropped this camera at a lunchtime game at one point, so it's kind of a bummer. It still works, so you just have to do everything through the viewfinder, and believe it or not, this camera is actually a lesser video quality than our Canon XA11s, those two black ones that we have. I know it looks a lot fancier because it's bigger. It seems like it does a maybe more expensive camera, but really it's not. So bigger is not always more expensive or better quality. So, but we still do use this for a lot of things. We use it for the weekly newscast, and it is still a camera that is very useful to us. So the batteries we talked about over there, obviously this has the same battery as our light batteries. You're going to see it's got the two dots on the bottom still, right here. What I do is I stick this in the slot back here for the battery. It's this big gaping hole back here. Should be obvious. It goes in. You start up high, and then you just slide it down. Once you slide it down, now it's in the slot. I could turn this camera on. A lot of people actually don't even know how to turn this camera on. How do you turn it on? There's a button right here. It's got a little green slot inside of it. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. It's actually got a little bit of a green button right there. There we go. This is perfect. It's got a green button. You push this green button in, and then you can slide this thing over to on. Now the camera is on, and if I look through the viewfinder, which I don't even know if you could see that on here. Let's see. No, you're not going to be able to see that. But if I look at that viewfinder, the camera is now on, and I can see what is going on. So that's how you insert the battery into this camera. Just to give you a close-up shot, that's what it looks like whenever it is in the compartment. To get the battery out, all you have to do is, first off, make sure your camera's off. Before you remove any battery, you should always make sure your device is actually off. So now that the device is off, I can push this battery release button right here. I push that in, and then I just push this up, and now it comes straight out. And it can go right back to the charger. All right, and then moving down on the table here, the last thing I have plugged in here is the charger that goes to the battery for our drone. Our drone we use for several things. The parade, the homecoming parade, I use it at the football halftime shows for the band. And if there's something that pops up that's useful for the drone, I use that for that as well. Also always on this table is the drone controller. The drone controller has a charging cable that goes here, plugs in USB. Whenever I need to charge this, it just goes straight into the USB charging dock as well. So that's why that's here. To the end here, we have two different gimbals. One is just for an iPhone. It charges with a Type-C charger. And again, whenever we charge the iPhone gimbal, it just goes straight into the USB charging station. And then the same deal with the big camera or the big gimbal for the box camera. This thing is very nice. And it works very well. I'll have a video on how to use this later on down the road. But it also just charges via Type-C cable, I think. But I have a yeah, it does, Type-C. But it charges into the dock just like the other one. So, guys, main thing here with this table is if you come back here and you use a battery, that's great. Make sure you put it back when you're done. Make sure that if you used it, you put it back on the charger so the next person that needs to use it can. If you need to get a blue camera, or I guess a black camera, I always call them blue cams, but if you need to get one of these, great, come get it. Go get yourself a USB card, or not USB, an SD card off my desk, and then go do it. But ultimately, this always needs to be set up in a way that we can use it, and that's ready to go for the next person.